Welcome to the Lab 2 walkthrough. Remember, in this lab, the basics are in the book, where that we have the Bronco Idol competition. You enter participants from 1 year and from past year and from this year, and calculate prices for them for registration. But you also have to customize messages depending on whether the participants are greater from the previous year, greater from the current year, or the same. Also remember that I want you to add the option for up to 100 participants or contestants. And there are some optional items, such as the registration fee changing or being waived, I should say, if they are participant from a previous year. So this lab does include that. Also, you should use much ASCII output. I removed most from this lab simply so you could come up with your own, because they do not need to look the same, and I saw that happening quite a bit in Lab 1. So let me take this through a couple of rounds to show you differences in output. First, of course, it comes up with how many contestants are attending this year, and I'm going to keep it a low score just so we can see a difference here first. So we'll say 5. How many contestants attended last year? We will say 6. And how many contestants from this year attended last year? Now this is the extra piece, the optional piece, because there's more calculations that have to take place. Let me put none for now so that we can see what most people will get. So there's a little bit of output here. So revenue this year, $125. Revenue last year, $150, because of course there was one more contestant, $25 fee. And we do have some unformatted output. There should be a bit more formatting here. There were 6 competitors last year and 5 competitors this year. We do not have any returning competitors from last year, so that we would have that. And then we have a tighter race this year. Come out and cast your vote, because there's fewer contestants this year than there were last year. Let's run another one here. Okay, so here we're ready to run another one. Let's go ahead and do the same number of participants each year. And we'll still do 0 for this one, because that's an optional for the calculation. So same price there. And different message. We have a consistent turnout. We do not have any returning. Let's run another one. And remember, one of the pieces I have is allow for up to 100 contestants. So let me say 101. That number is not between 0 and 100. So enter another number. I should have put this on the same line. Let me say 50. How many contestants last year? Let's say there were more, 60. And how many contestants from this year attended last year? Let's say 10. So we have some difference here. Revenue this year, revenue last year. Of course, made more for the last year. And we, of course, say this. And then we actually note 10 of the competitors this year are returning from last year. Okay. And this is the optional piece still. The 10 returning competitors do not need to pay the $25 fee. And that's why, we have more of a difference here. So tighter race. So there are many decisions that take place in this lab. Remember, the required pieces are that we get current and last year's contestants' registration numbers and still do calculations. And we allow for up to 100 contestants. And then we have to output a different message, whether last year's there were more participants, this year there were more participants, or they're the same number of participants. The extra piece, the optional piece, if you wish to do a bit more, is when we ask how many registered last year, because we don't do that for the standard one. We do some calculations to waive the $25 fee if they registered last year and are registering this year, and subtract that from the total. And so that happens here as well. To give you an indication of that, let's go ahead and run this one more time. Okay, so here's one last run when we see a difference if there are previous year's competitors. Once again, this is an optional piece. It's a little bit more of a challenge. So let's keep it low numbers. Let's say 10, 10 for this year. We'll go ahead and just keep it the same number. I'm sorry, for last year as well too. But we'll go ahead and say that there are 5. So this would have an impact on the total. And it does. Revenue this year versus revenue last year, because we did subtract the registrations for those 5 participants that were participants last year and this year. Once again, that's extra for the lab, but I wanted to show that for those that might want to attempt it. I would first get the main pieces working, checking for last year registration, this year registration, and of course customizing the message, and also setting an upper limit of 100 so they couldn't go over 100 registrations to do and then do your math and your output. Only once you get those items working would I move to add the piece that we subtract if they were contestants from previous years off of the totals, because that's a little bit different way to approach it. Once again, this was a Lab 2 walkthrough. We'll talk about it in class as well.